Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. All those who are watching and all my panelists, I am Ashaar Saeed and I am a career HR professional. And all those who will be watching would, quite a few of them would be knowing me, but I've been now working for last 30 years almost. I've worked for various organizations. So without going into any further details, I would first like to introduce today's subject. But before that, I would like to speak a bit about Global CxO Forum, whose founder is Kamal Masroor. And I think Kamal is doing a great job in assembling C-suite professionals from all over the world. This is focused definitely on Pakistanis. So we have members from Pakistan, naturally, UK, USA, Saudi, UAE, Malaysia, and the number is going up. So far, I think we are 800 members, which Kamal has been able to assemble. So I think great job on Kamal's part. And a lot of such shows, talks, actual physical programs and events are happening from last almost 3 to 4 years. So kudos to Kamal and kudos to the Global CxO Forum. Coming to the subject of today, benefits of trust in workplace culture. I believe this subject is close to heart of everyone, and this subject is very critical. It's very deep rooted, not so easy to discuss it in an hour's time because a lot of effort needs to be done, a lot of studies needs to be done in order to understand that what are the causes, what are the roots, how this can have an impact on the bottom line or productivity of the organization. As I mentioned in my LinkedIn post on this particular show, that trust is the lifeblood of an organization, and it has a direct impact on the productivity. So we need to together we need to explore and discuss and try to reach a conclusion as much as we can in a limited time, that what kind of impact lack of trust or having positive trust in the organization have on the productivity and on the bottom line. As we all know, that commercial organizations work for the for profits and for the bottom line. Having said that, I would like to introduce my panel, a very distinguished panel today. I'll start from Mr. Maqsood Ali. Maqsood Ali is an HR veteran, I would say, and he has worked for organizations like Pfizer, K Electric, Kia Motors, which is now Lucky Motor Corporation, and currently he's Chief Human Resource Officer at Descon Engineering Limited. So a very distinguished career on part of Maqsood, has been adding a lot of value in very senior roles from last almost now 20 years in senior roles. Our next panelist is Jehanzeb Khan. Jehanzeb is a dear friend like Maqsood, but Jehanzeb is a great HR professional. He has worked for consulting. He has worked for in Saudi with SABIC. He has worked for a very long time with Total, and currently he is general manager HR for Cnergyice, which used to be Baiko Petroleum a few months or a year ago. So our third panelist is Rizwana Mujeed. Rizwana is a very, I would say, illustrious HR professional. She has worked again, starting from various backgrounds, PwC, Syngenta, and other places as well. And currently, she is a head of HR and admin for IFFCO Pakistan. So, and she has really worked in depth in many areas when it comes to people and culture, etc. Last but not the least is Mariyah Arif. She's head HR of Louis Dreyfus, if I'm rightly pronouncing it, Mariyah, right now. But Maria's career is very diverse, very diverse. She has worked in consulting, she has worked with academia, she has worked with manufacturing organizations. And I know her from the days of Reckitt Benckiser, where she was senior HR advisor. Before that, she was with ABN AMRO. A LUMS grad, and I think brings a lot of verve, I'm sure, and will bring a lot of energy to today's discussion. She is a very reflective person and a very close observer. So all of you, very warm welcome to all of you. So that was the opening that I wanted to share on trust. Obviously, we can continue to talk and talk, but the format, as I shared earlier, is that all of you will be requested one by one to say a few words, 3 to 5 minutes on the subject, as you have seen and experienced and noticed. And then we'll try to open the floor, and we can have a very heart-to-heart discussion on the subject of trust. So I would like to start from Maqsood.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashaar, and good afternoon, everyone. Um, I would start my journey, my recent example at Descon, what was happening and how we managed to address that issue. So when I joined Descon, the situation was of COVID. People were in a difficult shape. Things were not performing well. So inconsistency was there, and no directions. So a lot of downside on the business front and on the cultural side, which resulted in poor performance. We missed in one or two business, we missed our targets, and our performance was nosedive. And during that process, leadership changes also happened. So resultantly, the business was not in good shape. And then post COVID, we started to build ourselves. So during that COVID situation, we understood few things. So we understood that we need a consistent leadership. We need competence and capacity to manage our businesses. What we need is to have open communication throughout these sessions so that people can understand where we are heading, what is the situation at this point in time, where is the business going on, what are the new avenues, and what are we shutting down. So communication was one of the issues we were facing at that point in time. And there was a lot of uh, situations where people were not taking ownership. Lack of communication was there, so transparency was also at times was not there. People were just pushing their envelopes to get few things done, but they are not achieving such targets. So how we manage that situation? So this was the state there. So we started up with once we knew that these are the certain areas we need to focus on. So first of all, we focused on the communication side. So we were very open, and we were very we had a quarterly reviews, and we had our open sessions with CEO was leading those sessions first, and then later on each divisional president was required to talk about their business. So we were very transparent about our business, what's happening in the business. We start sharing that thing with the individuals. The second thing which we focused on to have that culture, so we started focusing um, on the policy side of the organizations. So they were this organization is 45 years old. The focus was mainly to get the things done. The policy piece was a little bit on a lower side. So what we did, that we started focusing on policy, and we started revising those policies. I would say that we were revising policies of Descon when Descon was in red. Descon was not in good shape. So at that point in time, we were starting to revise the benefit policies. That was one of the things which we did during that time. And then the third thing, what we did, that we also encourage diversity was a challenge for us. So we started to focus on diversity, and we started encouraging our employees to have different opinion, not only the gender piece. We started to include people from different societies also. So I am the first one who came from Karachi, and then we started to focus on more individuals from different diverse backgrounds and different cities and ethnicities. Because in Lahore, the most of the culture is the same. So you need some variety so that people can understand and people can bring in new ideas on the table. So we also focus on that piece. And currently now we have at least one our BD guys and international person, and our operation people, our EPC guys. He's an Italian. We have Italian, we have British now in our organizations. We being a organization emerging from Pakistan and have operations overseas now. Our focus is now focusing on that diversity piece. So these were the few things which we did, and then one of the things which was missing, that ownership accountability. We revived that culture of ownership accountability, and we also demonstrated. We did the walk the talk. So when we were saying that we will do that, and we demonstrate the same things. So these were the certain steps which we took to come out from that situation, to build that culture of trust. And mashallah, this year we have completed, we have closed our business at 80 billion rupees with a profit of 7-8% bottom line. Next year we are targeting 100 plus billion rupees revenues, and then again a revenue of 6 to 7%, a profit of 6 to 7%. Then this is all has come from the situation which we did that. One thing which I would like to highlight over here is that when we had our first engagement surveys in 2018, the employee engagement index was 38%. This year, when we have concluded our engagement survey in 2022, the employee engagement index is 62%. So a
Amazing.
remarkable change in the culture of the organization, remarkable change in the practices of the organization. And this has happened when we were very open and transparent with our employees. We shared the challenges we were facing. We shared the avenues we were shutting down. We shared the reasons why we right-sized the organizations. So we were very transparent and open with the management to achieve those trust culture. And hopefully, I'm very confident the culture has revived a lot. And the reason being, we are now again going for a growth from 80 billion closure to 100 plus billion closure for next year budget, is the testament that we have revived the culture of the organization. We have built the trust among all the members so that people can work together and work for the benefit of the organization and as well as for themselves also. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much, Maqsood. I think amongst all the things which were actually very, very important that you undertook, one of the cardinal things that build trust or takes the organization towards it, which you have done, is sharing of information and business status and keeping it transparent. So that's a great takeaway for me. So now I would request Rizwana, if you can come up with your understanding or your experience when it comes to building trust in the organization.
Sure. Thank you, Ashaar Saab. And thank you for inviting me with these panelists. It's really pleasure to be there. Yes, I'll start with a quote from Warren Buffett. He says, "Trust is like the air we breathe. Nobody really notices, but when it's absent, everybody notices." So a high trust workplace culture is the lifeblood of any thriving organization. It's a profound bond of respect, transparency, and collaboration that forms the foundation of success. And in this culture, employees feel really safe, valued, heard, empowered to bring their whole selves to work. And what Maqsood has done is really given a very good example where you can see a link between a high trust organization and a business success. So that's a no-brainer that there is a very, very strong connection that exists. But the question comes, what exactly is a high trust workplace culture? So what it is, I mean, it can be explained as an environment where open communication flows freely, where leaders and employees act with integrity, and where fairness and support are the norm. And it's a place where trust blooms, creating fertile ground for innovation, engagement, and high performance teams. And then the question, why at all it's important. So the answer is really simple. A high trust workplace culture fuels excellence. And I'll give you a few examples of how we did in IFFCO when last year I joined, and how it is, you can see a difference between a year before and now. So what we've done is we have actually broken the communication barriers. We have actually unblocked the communication channels. And by communication channel, it doesn't mean that, we are talking about everything. It's about that we are giving consistent messages. So one of the enemies of trust is inconsistent message. And what we've been doing is we've been making sure that our managers and our leaders are capable enough to give the right message at the right time, and also to resolve conflicts at the right time with fairness and transparency, so that you really create that feeling of fair environment and fair culture. And of course, you should not forget the ripple effects of the trust. So what it does at the end of the day, it really enhances teamwork, which we can see in my current organization. Is very, very visible. It has bolsters employee engagement. So as Maqsood said, we have also seen a very, very visible change in our engagement score from last year to 73%, this year to 89%, which is a very, very good success. And also in terms of different communication channels that we have opened. For example, we have started having these town hall meetings just to make sure that leaders are connecting with every employee, regardless of level, regardless of their status, regardless of their jobs. We have also encouraging our departmental heads to have meetings with their teams, monthly team meetings, weekly team meetings, just to make sure that we are talking to them every now and then, and there is no vacuum. But what happens is whenever there is a vacuum, rumors grow, and these rumors are enemy of the trust. So make sure there are no vacuums. And yes, there are quite a few other things also. For example, um, consistent standards. That's how we show fairness, and that builds trust. So if I apply the same policy from top to bottom, it creates a perception of fairness. It builds trust. And the moment I start creating exceptions, you erode that trust. So yes, consistent standards across all levels. And then of course we've started recently making sure that we do not we do keep these elephants in the parlor. You know what it is. So sometimes it happens in organizations. You must have seen, one day somebody is fired abruptly, and the next day nobody talks about it. It's quiet. And you know what these things do? They disrupt the organization, and they damage the trust. So we talk about it. We are very transparent. We have started being open, and we are seeing the results. Business is doing well. Of course, organization has gone through a lot of ups and downs due to bad economic situations of Pakistan. Of course, it has impacted us equally. But even during these difficult times, we were able to keep our team engaged just because of the fact that we tried to create trust amongst the employees, between manager, between leaders across the organization. So that's our story. Of course, what trust has done is it has enabled our psychological safety. People feel psychologically safe to come up with ideas, to share their grievance, to share their fears, to talk openly about anything and everything. And this is something, that's a very, very fundamental of having a high trust culture. So yes, I will conclude as, at IFFCO and even in my previous organizations, whenever we have taken um, making a conscious effort to build the trust, the results are really visible, not only in business performance, employee engagement, and even for that matter, customer satisfaction also improves. So yes, over to you,
Thank
Ashaar.
you. Thank you very much, Rizwana. I think that was quite thought provoking. You just picked up the right, I would say, strings and shared your experience with us as well of IFFCO. So yes, transparency, fairness, integrity, walking the talk, as was shared by Maqsood. I think these are all very cardinal things when it comes to building trust in the organization, and very, very important. I mean, easier said than done, but very important. You talked about the elephant in the parlor. I think that, and last but not the least, the consistency of implementation of policies and standards. ये कोई इतना important है कि people and you, all of us, being in HR, we know it, that people come walking into HR and say कि जी वहाँ तो ये हो रहा है, हमारे लिए ये नहीं हो रहा. I recall in my last organization, which was Lucky Motor Corporation, that people used to come to me not one time, not thrice, so many times, innumerable times, and talking about one individual who had the luxury of coming to office at 11 o'clock. और लोग कहते थे आके मुझसे कि भाई वो क्या गिफ्ट ऑफ गॉड है या वो क्या है, थोड़ा सा आप हमें बताएं इस बारे में. Why is he allowed to come in at 11 and rest of us are here at Port Qasim at 7:30 in the morning? So honestly, I didn't have an answer. I used to cut a sorry figure and used to come up with my philosophical responses to such questions, but that was not good enough. And people are very smart. So yes, and that's the breach of trust. That's a huge hole in the trust building that we are trying to build. So now I would request Jehanzeb, if you can kindly share your thoughts on the subject with us.
Thank you very much, Ashaar Saab, for inviting me, giving a lovely introduction, and my colleagues, fellow colleagues, everyone, Assalamu alaikum, hi,
Walaikum
to our audience. Unlike Rizwana or Maqsood, I'll take you to the academics, and I'll start my conversation from the holy religion or Islam. That it has a lot of significance on the topic of trustworthiness and trust itself. If it is society, if it's a corporate, it's a personal experience. Trust is mandatory wherever you are in this scenario. So trust is the key. So coming back to our setup, which is it is corporate, it is very important. It starts from the higher, top management. For example, if you are in a board and you have given a responsibility to appoint someone on a senior position, you have to give a justice on that particular appointment as well, that that particular person is competent enough and he is being hired for some position. He should do some justice over the position, not some, but he should give a proper play a proper role on that particular position. So it is one. The other aspect, on the other hand, as we are the employees, and we are also have been given a mandate. Our responsibility is to do justice. We have to be honest about our responsibilities once we are performing the job. So it is called as performance of duties. We should be honest. We should not be dishonest, because it has an impact on the society, on the culture itself, on the corporate as well. So this is a little bit from our religion, which it is overcoming, and we should all follow that. So this is one thing. The other thing, which I'll be little more on academia. We all know, but just to re-emphasize, I'll start from Dalai Lama's very famous quotation, that trust is not being purchased or buy from the retail store or retail market. We need to invest a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of investment has to be done. Now the second part, when I say investment, it is a myth nowadays that we ask somebody from the board, say we have to bring trust in our culture. So what I'll do as a consultant, as a HR professional, I'll ask someone that who is more renowned consultant, who can write about the trust, who can incorporate trust in my corporate values, and we'll have a magical clap, and we'll have a corporate value which is being called trust. No, it is about having very simple steps, and I'll put it again from the academia, that it's a triangle, which is it's about authenticity, empathy, and logic. The first is authenticity. Maqsood and Rizwana has already covered walk the talk. What you're speaking is being implemented. You have consistency of thoughts, and there's the policies, procedures you're following. There is you can avoid exception to maintain the trust. So one, authenticity is very important. The second is logic. Inspire people with the logical discussions. One thing which I have learned through my life is convince people or get convinced. So have reasoning, have a lot of discussions around. And the third is empathy. The empathy is very important these days. Everyone is talking about the empathy. So we should have a culture enabler empathy, because you're being you feel you're being heard, you've been listened, you've been empowered, you have a feeling that yes, somebody is there to take care of myself, my career, my I being heard. So this kind of culture has to be there, which enable trust around. So this is a academic discussion little bit, but it is very important, and the benefits are everybody knows around us, that It has, less uh, uh, attrition, high productivity, high engagement. Everybody likes to, drive towards the office with a new thought, with a new idea, with inspiration. आज मैंने जाके ये करना, things like that. And the other side, if you don't have trust, you have micromanagement, you have a lot of questioning around your treating mistakes, as a, punishment. You'll be giving punishment. Feel fair. There'll be no openness. People will hide things, and it will start. The culture will not be conducive. So this is what we have from the academia, and rightly said, Maqsood referred to us in a situation where we all were struggling. We didn't knew that where we are heading towards in COVID. So we also, stick towards, first of all, open communication, giving very clear messages to all teams, connecting with them, giving hard answers to them, even that what's going on. But on the other hand, we had very clear, communication that everybody will be taken care of. Company is there, company is doing essential business. We are into oil business, so we will be there. Everybody is very important. And the other, the tools, for example, the salaries, the bonus, and other increments, we whatever we promised, we delivered at that time. So the trust is still there, and at that moment, trust was very important. So alhamdulillah, the company survived, and the culture is still, intact, and people respect each other. So this is what I have from the introduction, and we'll meet in the question answer sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ashaar.
you very much, Jehanzeb. Thank you very much. I think you started very well by referring to the religious aspects of trust, which are actually very, very important, foundational, so to say. And then, other than that, when you spoke about empathy, when you spoke about fairness again, and then the downsides of not having trust, the environment becomes suffocating. People are not open. They are not ready to work as with a lot of motivation. So yes, I think these are all areas, and this definitely gives rise to a certain questions, which I'll come up a bit later. Now I come over to Mariyah, and Mariyah must be thinking that why I'm the last one who's being asked. Actually, Mariyah, I know you very well, so you are such a brilliant communicator. If I would have asked you to open it, you would have taken lion's share of it. So I'm sorry for that, but yes, over to Mariyah Arif.
So I have to make all new points now. But thank you so much for having me in such an esteemed panel, and more importantly, for picking such an essential topic. It's actually ironic how significant trust is, and it's one of the first tenets of an employee-employer contract or the relationship that we have, yet we barely ever talk about it. And to be honest, I was quite nervous to talk about it because it's, again, one of those things that no one discusses. So there's no right and wrong anymore. It's very easy to talk about the topics like DEI, which everyone is harping on almost. So you know the right answers, right? But in this case, it's so foundational that it's almost impossible to put it into words. I think the most important thing I've learned from not just working at LTC, but also just my experience in general, is that you have to give trust to get trust, right? It is two-sided, and that's something we forget. When we talk about open communication, we talk about various other things where we are giving the employees transparency. We also need to remember that we need to trust them as well, right? And we need to keep in mind that whatever they're saying is probably, there's a truth behind it. So when you give trust, you get engagement, you get loyalty, you get retention. And these are all the indicators of a successful culture, right? This is what you want from both sides, from both parties. They want it from you, you want it from them. One thing that I think organizations, any good structured organization, has been doing for years to come, has been, in terms of empowerment, we've been very good as HR professionals, right? We have been, whether it's objective setting, whether it's discussing development needs, we've been very open and allowing employees. There's been a bit of a shift where we let employees set their own objectives. We let them discuss what development needs they have, rather than us kind of harping on to them or putting it onto them. This is what you need to do to develop or to be successful in the organization. But post-COVID, one more thing came in, which I think no one had considered before, and that was a general idea of flexibility. So it started with the obvious, which was physical flexibility. And then we learned that, when we say that you can work from home or you can work from anywhere, it is such an essentially big trust that we're putting into the employee. And now you're not measuring the amount of hours that they spend in your office. So that whole, coming early, staying late, that kind of gets dissolved. You aren't measuring how much time they're sitting on their seat or they're on their computer or their laptop, which again is a historical way of, seeing if they've actually done something or not, but rather you're measuring real results. And to measure real results, now you need to be extremely transparent about exactly what you want. What is the result that you want? What's the outcome that you're expecting from the employee? So trust has become so much more vast and so much more, I feel, almost open-ended now. And it's more than just again performance. It's more than just the KPIs. It's actually giving weight to people's ideas, showing them that inclusivity is something that I touched on. So inclusivity is a lot more than just women coming into the office, right? Bringing in more female staff, bringing in gender diversity, as was mentioned earlier. It's bringing in different ideas and then giving those people or those ideas actual equity, giving them an opportunity to actually showcase their development, giving them an opportunity to actually add the value that we say that, you can bring value to us when you come from different leadership styles, you come from different socioeconomic backgrounds, giving them the opportunities to actually put them into practice. So again, it's one of those topics that I don't even know where to start and end from. But I think that's all I'll say for now. And I'm sure when we go into the enablers and the barriers, we'll have a more comprehensive discussion on it.
Great, Maria. I think amongst all your points, everything was very apt. But the one you spoke about in terms of hybrid environment that we are experiencing, and that's the kind of new form and highest level of trust that we are posing into employees. I think that is one thing which never crossed my mind in that way, the way you describe. And I think it's going to open up new vistas or definitions of trust as well. कि वो हमारे पास बैठा नहीं है in the premises and we are still trusting, and that brings measurement into the discussion, that how clearly defined KPIs are against which employees can be measured. Having said that, I would come to Maqsood. Maqsood, you have worked for a very long time with MNCs, and then since then you've been working for large local corporates. Do you see a difference in trust environment when we compare MNCs with large local corporates?
I would say I was lucky to work with some good organization, and the people were more transparent and fair in their practices. On the other side, I would say that instead of looking at the organization, we should also look at the audience right now. We have the employees. The entire canvas has now changed. Average age of Kia was 29. Average age of Descon is roughly 40. Average age of KE was again in 40s. So we also need to understand that the new age, the new workforce we have, they only look for purpose. They ask you. So you cannot hide things from them. The best way to address all the situation is to have good communication channel with them. That is the key for all the employees at this point in time. If we hide our things in the previous times, we can hide certain aspect of our organization, but now you cannot, because information travels so fast that it's unbelievable now. So we need to understand that the audience we right now dealing with, they want information, and if you don't give them information, they feel themselves disengaged. Once the disengagement kicks in, everything start falling. So that's the challenge right now at this point in time. Trust is equal to speed, speed is equal to cost. If the organization is operating with good trust, the speed is also good and the cost is also lower. And if there is a trust deficit, the speed is also compromised and it costs you a lot. So this is this phenomenon right now. So organizations, there are organizations now they are coming out from that situation where they were not transparent, they were not fair. Now there are processes, there are methods where people have started behaving in those lines, and they have started to work as individuals, because you, at the end of the day, the feed you are getting, they want you to tell you what's happening. They want you to be transparent. They want you to be fair. They want you to empower them. And they want you to give ownership. And once the ownership is, they also want them to be accountable. So there is a lot of things which the new workforce is now requesting us. So old school, I still remember when I was having my discussion with the CEO of Kia. I told him, well, it's time for us to change, because we all are people from old era. The new era wants, the millennials want few things. They want a purpose. They want why I'm here. They want to know what's exactly happening, what motivates them. That's the thing which we need to do it. And as management, some good managements, they have starting movers towards that side, and they have started to work that side so that they can focus on building a culture of trust, so that they can reduce the cost and they can bring efficiencies into the system.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think very, very valid points. Very valid points, and I'm also assuming, and perhaps rightly so, that when it comes to MNCs or large local corporates, it's not, we cannot really bifurcate it in that way in terms of presence or absence of trust. It's more about the audience or the employees that we have, and what do they demand, or what are they requiring. And this brings us to Gen Z, the most talked about generation right now. And you rightly said that they want purpose, they also want flexibility, they also want recognition, and they also want learning. They're very keen about learning. If you put them into an area for, let's say, 1.5 years, much before that, they will come back and say that, for example, talking about HR, I actually experienced it, that one of the management trainees came to me and said that I've been in talent acquisition for 6 months, and that's good enough. I mean, please rotate me. So that's the kind of expectation they have, and rightly so. I mean, why not? If they want to move on, they want to take new experiences, that's all right. Rizwana, since you have worked outside Pakistan as well, when you were on an assignment for some time in UK, how do you compare the two environments when it comes to trust? Would your answer be the same as Maqsood's? Is there a difference between countries?
My personal experience tells me that there's a lot of difference the way we
Okay.
see
Okay.
trust, our organization culture in Pakistan and there. So I'll give you an example what happened during COVID. So during COVID, in UK, Syngenta UK, there was this guideline that nobody's supposed to come to work from home. And also we were having these almost weekly calls with our managers where people were telling us that you should not be working throughout 9 to 5, take breaks, attend your children, because the schools were closed at that time and there were a lot of working parents managing kids at home. So there was a very clear guideline from our senior management that focus on your mental health. Work is not important. As long as you are delivering, whatever time you are working, feel free. And I used to take a break in between 1 to 2 to go out for a walk with my son. So that was a kind of flexibility that we were given in UK. Back home here, I had a lot of friends in different companies, and of course in multinationals also. But environment was a little different. Although people were working from home, but then I could hear a hue and cry from my colleagues that we are having calls even in nighttime, daytime, because of that trust issue. Because we thought that people might not be working at home, so let's engage them in meetings, no matter what time it is. So yes, I could see a lot of difference in the way. And you know what? In UK, even before COVID, work from home was an option. So even before COVID, I was given that flexibility to work at least 1 or 2 days from home if I would like to. But here in Pakistan, I think COVID forces that culture where the manager, the companies had to trust. But one thing is good that when I came back from UK, I could see the change in culture because of that forced environment that was created due to COVID. People have started trusting their teams because you know why? Because the end result, they got the end result. Businesses performed really well even during COVID times. And so, it gave them the trust that yes, it is possible. But in terms of the culture, I see we still have a long way to go. A lot of things that we can do, and a lot of systems we can put in place. Lot of feedback mechanisms that we need to have in the organization to make sure that information flows freely, both sides, horizontal, vertical, bottom up, top down. So a lot needs to be done. It's still a long way to go for us to reach that level.
I would just
Actually,
like to add
yes.
something.
Yeah,
Sure, I would
please,
like to add
please.
one of the thing which is basically very important, whether you are in a multinational or you are in on an organization, entrepreneur organization, the progressive mindset of the management is very important. If you have that progressive mindset, then there is no challenge. You can easily achieve everything. I still remember when COVID hit us, and I was sitting in the with the management team of Kia, and we said we will start work from home. And everybody said to me, "So how we are going to address their attendance, how we are going to do that." So I told them, okay, now we have to move our self from attendance to a KPI driven culture. And everybody said understood it then and there. They said, okay, fine. So now we will not monitor the attendance. We will talk about tasks. We will set KPIs around it and we'll start moving that. And that progressive mindset understood by everybody around that. Although we were all in the age of 50 plus, but we understood that this is the norm. We need to adopt that. And you have to be progressive. If you want to really build a culture of trust, your management style and the team around the management should be of progressive mindset. That's very important, irrespective of the organization, state of the organization, multinational, entrepreneur, state, and you name it. But the mindset is very important.
True that, true that. And I still remember Maqsood, if you recall, I actually succeeded Maqsood at Lucky Motor Corporation as he was moving on to Descon. So my joining, all of it was done during COVID times, and later on we did the performance appraisals also. So it was quite, I would say, quite a surprisingly smooth transition to online working and digital working. Though there were certain cons back at home. मेरी वाइफ मुझे जब उसने बहुत देर से काम करते देखा ऑनलाइन, तो कहने लगी कि आप तो सुबह से शाम तक कुछ करते ही नहीं है। तो मैंने कहा भाई मैं सुबह से तो बैठा हुआ हूँ लैपटॉप के ऊपर और फोन पर। कहने लगी आप तो बातें करते हैं। तो मैंने कहा भाई उसी के तो पैसे बनते हैं। So anyway, that was on a lighter note, but there are always pros and cons of everything. But having said that, I was just wondering last evening when I was thinking about today's subject, that there are quite a few things that go into building trust, and a few which I actually thought of were when you recognize excellence, when you recognize employees, when you build genuine relationships with them, when you provide them with I would say, for want of right word, stress in shape of challenges. These are the things that also instill trust in employees. And when you also allow them the discretion to work in their own particular way, and that can only happen naturally when there are well-defined KPIs. So all this go into building trust. And as famously they say that trust is residue of fulfilled promises. तो वो जो भी यूके की बात हो रही थी, रिजवाना कर रही थी कि हमारे यहाँ जो फुलफिल्ड प्रोमिसेस का रेशो है, आई थिंक उसको बढ़ाने की जरूरत है, so that people start trusting the management. And I think उसमें transparency बड़ी key है. So Jehanzeb, since you were working in an environment when you were in Saudi, that was an environment जो उस वक्त मुझे नहीं पता कैसा था, but right now it's all about Saudi. I mean, you know it more than perhaps all of us. So a lot is happening there, very huge projects coming up. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, on how did you experience it in Saudi when it comes to trust? Because to be honest, and I'll be very candid, Saudi culture या environment के बारे में हम कोई बहुत अच्छी बातें नहीं सुनते थे.
Right, you're right. Before my Saudi experience, I'll take you to my 1 year experience I spent in Singapore with Total. So, in that experience, what I will share is there was an office at Singapore. There were 2 floors, 200 people, and there were 42 nationalities working in those 2 floors. And coming from Pakistan, and just for 1 year, and you have to have an agenda of transformation of HR in APAC region is itself, how would you do? You require at least 6 months to understand the culture and your role and your people. And a lot of people are moving here and there in between 6 months as well. So it was a nightmare for me. But one thing which I learned, in that was relationships, personal relationships. And be it Saudi Arabia or be it Singapore, which is APAC region, personal relationships were key to be successful anywhere you are, in a corporate or wherever you are in your personal life. So what I used to do is, my regional head HR told me that if you want to work done in a quick time, you need to go to that person, have a quick coffee with him, and explain him and get it done, rather than sending an email and waiting for his response. Somebody's traveling, somebody's busy with some other work. He does not know your timeline. So one thing was very important. So relationships, I learned that, and it was very, very useful when I landed at Saudi Arabia. And luckily, Aramco, Sabic, Saudi Telecom, and a few more organizations, those Saudis you met at Makkah, Medina, which you're referring to, they have a mistrust kind of, reputation is not there. They're very qualified. They're very soft-spoken, cultured people, which I've worked with them. And but again, personal relationships counts. You have to go to them. You have to, even in Saudi Arabia, you have to have a desert camp with them. Then you are on the game. So it is key. So you have to have good relationship with them, and build trust among the people. You have to have your own brand, how you talk, how one more thing, because we're coming from Pakistan, they also have a very different perception about Pakistan. So you are representing Pakistan in that region, in a global organization. So they were also impressed. And if you have commitment has been fulfilled by yourself, you're a professional, you deal with a goodwill, so they will respect you as well. So it is mutual respect around, and they treat you as a good professional. So your work would be done like any other nationality or any other region, can be done in any other region. So relationships matters. Trust is always important, and this is what my take is in life. And in coming back to Pakistan, as Rizwana mentioned that during the time of COVID, we show, I mean, a whole Pakistan, not only my company or any other country, we, all of us, showed resilience. We showed a quick adaptation to the technology, trusting each other, and we came out very successfully in that time. So we have learned a lot through this pandemic, and we are more confident now.
Thank you, Jehanzeb. I think uh, Very, very nicely compared. And actually, your Singapore experience, that was very interesting. I mean, sometimes offline we'll have a discussion on that. I think there will be quite a few learning points, not only about trust, but other areas as well, because it's not easy. I can understand that. Having said that, Maria, you can obviously add to the discussion wherever you want to, but my question to you would be, and you can add later on, you have worked, I think, amongst all of us, perhaps barring me, perhaps, but very diverse industries: banking, logistics, LDC now, academia, FMCG. So, what difference did you find when it specifically it comes to trust, and what was your feel?
That's a very good question, actually. I think that has been something that I'm actually very proud of the fact that I've worked in so many different industries, and it's just been a coincidence. I wish I could take credit for being intelligent enough to have done it on purpose, but it was just a coincidence that I managed to touch so many different industries. One thing first, I'd like to talk about what a learning, I think, that is a commonality in all the best or most high trust places, and that is that just like I it was either Basood or Jehanzeb who pointed this out, that trust flows from the top, right? And again, it has to be a culture where it has to a progressive culture. One thing that we forget is it's not just an HR mandate, or it's not just the CEO's mandate or something like that. We need to teach line managers, every single line manager. So it's not just your senior ones, it's your most junior ones as well. That everyone is an HR manager. It's not just me. मैं तुम्हारी माँ नहीं हूँ. मैं तुम्हें आके नहीं सिखाऊंगी क्या क्या करना है. आपको खुद वो चीजें करनी है. Yeah, sorry, but that's something that I actually learned throughout, right?
Very,
That,
very apt.
You have to take. There's so many more anecdotes where that came from, but I'll park them for now. But very honestly, what they try and do is that they try and throw the hardest conversations onto HR, like you go and do them. But the truth is that whether it comes to care, any kind of trust, right? It builds from care, and it builds from the concept of respect, and that all has to come from your direct manager. I cannot force someone to be nice to you, to understand you. Of course, you inculcate it in different ways. You have those kind of trainings, but this is one thing that's really, really strong in LDC, that we're very, very much about constantly, before any kind of activity, whether it's your performance appraisal activities, it's your quarterly check-ins, and there's 10,000 of other things, development needs, etc., TNA. Before every one of them, we have a training session for the managers, where we teach them how they are going to have that conversation with their teams. And then you let them take the lead, right? So, it just immediately fosters so much more, I would say, understanding of the idea, the actual concept of empowerment, versus just, one of us telling you how to do it. You actually start walking the talk, and, living and breathing the concept of it. Back to your question about across industries how it's different. I think that it's different even across, for example, startups. I was working at a startup when COVID hit, or rather, I was actually in a career break when COVID hit. So I restarted my career with a startup during COVID, and the culture was very different there. It was definitely where you needed everybody to come to work. So because everybody was so young, and they were so, almost they felt like, हमें लगता है ना कि हमें तो ये चीज टच नहीं करेगी, राइट? जो बुरी चीजें वो दूसरे लोगों को होती हैं, वो हमें तो नहीं होंगी. So that kind of helping them understand trust was a little harder, to be very honest. They felt that if you let go of certain, again, if you say that people are not coming to work and they can work from home, they're not working hard enough. Look at us, we're working day and night to build up a company. So it depends on even where you are on the company life cycle. There's so many different factors to it. Having said that, one thing again that goes across the board, now we're so lucky that we have such strongly entrenched technology, right? And again, we can thank, there's a silver lining to every cloud. So we can thank COVID for a lot of that. We were forced into it. Absolutely, Rizwana's right. We were 100% forced into accepting technology, accepting flexibility, accepting things that the world had given years ago to their people, right? But with that came a lot of very positive things. We One another thing that I want to talk about. I don't know exactly how to connect it here, but I think you guys will by the end of the discussion. You'll see how it's connected for me. When it comes to companies that are MNCs, also private companies that have a number of different locations, that have huge number of employees, that are very kind of widely spread, communication becomes more important also, because as an employee आप कितनी भी अच्छी as an HR आप कितनी भी अच्छी salaries दे दें, कितने भी अच्छे benefits दे दें, कुछ सब कुछ दे दें, at the end of the day, very frankly, आप सब, you would attest to this as employees, that you get used to it, right? आपकी चादर जब बड़ी होती है तो आपके सारे पाँव भी फैल जाते हैं ना, आपके हाथ भी फैल जाते हैं, तो आपको आदत हो जाती है वो एक्स्ट्रा चीजों की, फिर you want more then. So
They all become hygiene factors.
exactly. So there, it's almost endless. So what is that one factor then that keeps them motivated, that keeps them engaged? It's actually that open communication where they know where they belong in that whole scheme of things, right? When you tell them as a company, we are seeing ourselves go here, this is how we want to get there, then automatically you don't have to say this is how you will make us get there. Automatically they become part of the solution, they become part of the vision, and they see their own importance in it. And if they align with your values, then again that trust comes automatically as well. Now they know कि okay, the company thinks how I think, so एक automatic trust भी आ जाता है. I do want to talk about one big barrier. I think it's very pertinent in today's political and economic climate in Pakistan, especially. You can't give a lot of things. Let's be honest. I cannot give you political stability. I cannot give you economic stability in terms of the country. Every time the budget comes, my heart stops. I swear to God. And it's still stopped right now. And it's kind of broken up. I don't know how to fix it up. Because income tax ka main kya karu? Main kya karu? So there's a lot that you can't do. In this sort of a case, when you have that high trust environment where they might intuitively know you can't do much for them, but they know you'll try your best, that's when they stay engaged, right? So, I mean, again, it's an endless topic. I can go on forever. But for me, these are the most important indicators and the most important outcomes of having high trust.
Actually, yes. I think very well put. We are coming to the end of the discussion, and if any one of you wants to add to whatever has been discussed, quite an enriching discussion, I must say. But in the end, we are coming to a point where this invisible bond that pulls everyone along, other than the tangible perks and benefits and salary that we enjoy, and that rightly said, that becomes actually a hygiene factor, because we start taking it for granted. So that invisible bond comes through trust and other such factors, which keeps everyone together, and people feel like coming to the office in the morning, and all this stuff. And then I think every such discussion which relates to HR, and you also rightly said that every line manager should be an HR manager. Unfortunately, that is not the case, but should be an HR manager, because अच्छी खबर वो खुद देना चाहते हैं, और बुरी खबर जो है वो हमारे जिम्मे लगा देते हैं कि हम दे दें, which we all of us have been trying to do. तो ये बात जरूर है, but I think all of it goes up or emanates from the top only. So we need to, in our own little capacities, we need to continue to advise or guide, or very subtly educate the CEOs and the senior management we are interacting with, कि भाई आपने इसमें help करनी है, HR अकेले trust environment पैदा नहीं कर सकते. So, and obviously all these things that we have shared, वो सारी चीजें मौजूद है. I just want to add one more point which has just come to my mind, that we as organizations, not as HR, we need to work on the whole growth of the employee. So it should not only be professional, it should also be on a personal level as well. Because if someone is facing some challenging or tough time back at home, that really impacts the assignment or the performance. So for the whole growth needs to, and when whole growth is taken care of, then employees' trust starts going up. और उससे अच्छा होता है. So yes, I open the floor before we close. We are into the last minute. अगर आप में से किसी को कुछ और, if you want to say something, please go ahead.
Ashaar, as okay, Maqsood Sahab,
Yes, Maqsood.
please.
मेरी जो 20+ year का जो experience है ना, my 20+ of your experience taught me one thing: talk, communicate. Good, ugly, worse, just talk to people. Once you start talking, you will also have the courage to tell them the reality. At times we shy away from the reality. If you really want to build that culture of trust, only thing is to communicate, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, just talk to them. We recently did adjustments with to our colleagues, and we told them this much kit we had, and we are accommodating these section of employees only, and that was understandable to everyone. So if you really want to build the culture of trust, the only thing is to communicate. Once you will do that, you will know how to communicate and what to communicate also. You will start building your communication channel, you will start building your infrastructure around it, you will start talking each and everything. You will start talking about the financial health of the organization, start talking about the well-being of employees also. You will start talking about the culture, you start talking about diversity. This is the only thing to build the culture of trust, communication. That's the only thing which I have been doing from past 10 to 15 years now. I only just communicate. I say this is the reality. Yeah. How to do it, help me understand that. I try to explain myself, try to listen to them, make a two-way communication channels. That will sort a lot of problems.
Very well said, Maqsood. A very practical recommendation. Yes, Jehanzeb.
I was just referring to my experience that believe in yourself, walk the talk, uh, treat people with empathy, and it is very important. And don't be a micromanager. As we have already, Maqsood has discussed that we have moved towards KPI, so don't have to be an administrative leader. You have to have trust in people, and you, as you said, millennials are coming, Gen Zs. We need to take care of them as well, because they want a lot in a very short time. So treat them as they want, make them more productive, and build a culture of trust and respect, mutual respect for each other. That's it.
Anything else before we close? We have exceeded time by 2 minutes. So I
I
think
just
I would. Yes,
I
yes.
just like to quickly. It's going to, I don't know if this is going to be a popular opinion or not, but when absolutely communicating and trust, the way I do it, I mean, talking to khair comes naturally, right? So that I do anyway. It's more for myself probably. But what I realized actually, even when I started LDC, a lot of the basic things that you need for trust in terms of open communication was there, and a culture of transparency is very much there. But one thing that we forget is that people start working in their silos, right? Even though we have an open, we have a very open plan office, so it's very hard to stay in your own hole because you're literally in the middle of, the hall. But still, you get so stuck in your own work, you forget to go and talk to each other and communicate with each other, and then a lot of problems can be solved, just like Maqsood said, that by actually getting up, or as Jehanzeb said, by just getting up and saying to the person instead of sending a lengthy email with some nasty, well placed words in it, right? So we started doing small things, which for me, I feel they worked so well, because like on Wednesdays, I just randomly, I'll select a group of people, and I'll say, pick up your favorite 5 songs, and we'll put them up on our loudspeaker, and we just have songs playing with samosa and jalebi or whatever I'm craving that day. We'll have, every other Monday we'll have work anniversaries and birthday anniversaries celebrated. And even though these are seems like such basic things, but what happens is people get off their seats, they talk to each other. वो अच्छा तुम्हारी सालगिरह, अच्छा कितने साल गुजार लिए, पहले क्या हुआ था, अब कैसे कल्चर चेंज हुआ, खुद ही बातें शुरू हो जाती हैं. And when that happens, automatically that bond gets created. And like everyone has said, it's not just about HR to do it, right? It's across the board. It's employee to employee bonds. Mentorship happens from your colleagues across departments, across functions, and trust comes from everyone. So often it's one of the best things that happens is that someone who you would consider random comes to you and says, XYZ employee of so and so department is having this problem, can you help them? And the reason why they know that, because they have that bond, and hopefully we've created the trust where they can come and talk to us, and they know that we'll do something about it. So this kind of engagement where you are forcing people to just have fun together, they don't even realize when they create bonds with each other. And I think that just works really, really beautifully in such cases as well.
Excellent, excellent. I think, but in all this, all the recommendations or all the experiences that you have shared, and I'm sure you would agree to what I'm about to say in half a line, that genuineness is very important. So whatever needs to be done or executed, because people are smart enough to catch immediately whether that smile was fake or not. And also the fact that consistency, as started off by Maqsood ne shuru mein ye baat ki thi, we have to be very consistent, and Rizwana ne sorry ye baat ki thi, we have to be very consistent with our policies and standards. So it comes to our behavior as well. If it's not consistent, कि आपने quarterly awards में अपने टीम मेंबर को recognize किया, certificate दिया, का 4 का voucher दिया, and the moment he or she comes down to the desk, पर आप फिर वही पुराने वाले बन गए. So that is not consistent. So that's no recognition. It doesn't work. So yes. So thank you very much, all of you. It was honestly very enriching for me. I had a lot of learning points, and I'm sure the viewers, this was going live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. And thank you to Global CxO Forum as well for giving all of us this opportunity to interact on this very important subject and delve on it. And I really enjoyed. So thank you very much once again. And this is the time to end the show. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.